So Hari Om everyone. Uh, Today also YouTube live is not happening. So if you know anybody, you please forward the link I put up on the Telegram group. Tell them to use the link and join the satsang. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Samastajana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Hari Om, salutations to all. We have done the meaning of the word Guru, and we also did the different types of Gurus, as well as we saw about the first verse of the Guru Stotram. So we will chant the first verse, and then today we will take up the second verse. Akhanda Mandala Akaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So the second verse now. Ajnanatimirandhasya jnananjanashalakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So what does this verse say? Ajnana Timira Andhasya. See, the first shloka spoke about the vision of one supreme reality that pervades the whole universe. Akhanda Mandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Chara Achara. The moving and the non-moving, the entire world is pervaded by one consciousness. One who has blessed me with that vision, Tat Padam Darshitam Yena, who indicated that supreme state to me, to that teacher is my salutation. Now, why is it that one is not able to experience that state even if the teacher is indicating? So the second verse is about the root cause of sorrow and the reason why we are not experiencing that state of oneness. That is Ajnana. And then how to remove that? So this shloka speaks about both. So I am not having that vision. Why? Because I am blinded. Ajnana Timira Andhasya. I am blinded by the darkness of the ignorance. See, generally we get blinded by light. This very bright light, when it comes, and suddenly we can't see. The light itself is very powerful, we can't see. And then when we are exposed to suddenly such a bright light, then we can't see what is happening around. Here it says blinded by darkness. Darkness also can be very, very intense. Many times one sees that, a pitch dark, absolutely pitch dark, one doesn't know what is there around also. So Ajnana Timira Andhasya. I am blinded by this darkness. What has the Guru done? Jnana Anjana Shalakaya, with a stick, collyrium of Jnana, knowledge. The Anjan, collyrium of knowledge. With that, what they call kajal, the guru has as though applied that on my eyes, and chakshuhu unmilitam has given me the new vision. Chakshun militam yena tasmai shri gurave namaha. So that salutations to such a guru. Now the root cause of sorrow and suffering, one goes to the teacher to remove that, which is the ignorance of the self. So this cycle of ignorance, some of you know, some of you are new, is important to understand the cycle of ignorance. What is the cycle of ignorance? So we go from the effect to the cause. We experience sukha and dukkha based on the karma phala that we get. What is the cause of the karma phala? The cause of the karma phala is some karma, action that one has done. What brings about these actions? So thought, agitations or vikshepa, they cause the thoughts in our mind, which when we sustain, then the action happens and then there is a result. So many of you have sustained the thought that today there is a Guru Stotram Satsang at 7 p.m. So you have sustained that thought and so you are here. There are some 400 people on the Telegram group. Maybe they have sustained, some of them have sustained the thought, but they have some other commitment, no doubt. So a sustained thought manifests into action. Some people who don't sustain the thought, they forget. Then they say, oh, today was Thursday, oh, we missed the class. So thought sustained becomes action, action gives the result. So then you are here attending this satsang, the result will be, you may feel inspired. So result comes from action, action comes from thoughts, thoughts come from desires, kama. It can be any selfish desire, selfless desire, any type of desire, but desire is necessary for a thought, thought is necessary for action to happen. And where does desire arise from? Each one of us has so many different types of desires. Though we have a body which is made up of 5 elements, our mind also is made up of 5 elements. You know, this world also is made up of 5 elements. But there is still so much of variety. Why? Because of a factor which is called the vasanas. The vasanas or tendencies in each one of us are different, hence they manifest as different thoughts, desires, actions, results. And those results further strengthen or weaken the vasana, depending on how we enjoy. This is called a cycle of karma. Vasana, back to vasana. Every vasana, when we manifest it, it manifests through desire, thought, action, result, which can further increase my vasana. Or if I know how to act selflessly, then I can reduce the vasana. Now the quality of our vasanas. So sattvic vasana, rajasic vasana, tamasic vasana. Those will be the result, those will be the cause for the sattvic, rajasic, tamasic desire in the mind. So Gurudev used to say desire in the intellect, thoughts in the mind, actions at the body level in his BMI chart. So each one of us are different because of our vasanas and the quality of the vasanas. And of course the quantity also. The more the vasanas, the more is the desire, more thoughts, more disturbance in the mind. That person cannot sit quietly, very, very restless. So quality of vasanas, quantity of vasanas both make a big difference. Quality here does not mean only positive, negative. From Vedanta standpoint, quality also means sattva, rajas and tamas. Now this cycle itself we will not know till we come to study Vedanta in some formal or informal way. We maximum think some desires make us do some actions and we are compelled by desires. But there is an unmanifest vasana and every action that I am doing is leading to new vasanas. Now this cycle of vasana to vasana leads to, this is the cause for the cycle of birth and death. So punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jatare shayanam. Again and again I am born, again I die, again I am born. This cycle to enter again the womb of the mother. That's why Bhajagovindam he says that Iha samsare bahu dustare. This samsara is very difficult to cross. Why? Because this it's like a vicious circle. You know, in Puranas, that story of Rakta Bija comes. This Rakta Bija is a demon. Every drop of his blood, when it falls, another Rakta Bija is getting created. So it's terrible that this Rakta Bija, when it's born, and he creates a havoc. Now imagine so many Rakta Bijas are there. The Devatas are stunned. We will be finished by this Rakta Bija. So it is like that. Every action is giving rise to many more vasanas, and those give rise to many more desires, thoughts, actions. It is endless. That's why the example is given of the seed. The seed, it looks very small, but that one seed has the entire tree unmanifest form. And that tree will give rise to so many fruits. Each fruit will have so many seeds. Each seed can generate so many more. Is Ananta, is countless. That's why Ananta Samsara Samudra Tara. This samsara is bahudustare, very difficult to cross. Kripaya pahe pahi murare. Kripaya pare pahi murare. This apare samsare is very difficult to cross. You please help me to cross. So there it is a prayer to the Lord. Here it is the Guru who helps. So from the Vasana cycle, we man come into the karma cycle, into the Janma Mrityu Chakra. But this is still the effect. If birth and death is the secondary effect, the cause of that is this cycle of vasanas. What is the cause for the cycle of vasanas? If one asks that, then one has to go into the deeper level. So whenever we feel incomplete, then this vasana will be there. According to the vasana that we have, we want to feel completeness. So somebody wants to feel complete by eating something, somebody by drinking something, somebody by traveling, somebody by satsang. Each one according to their vasana will want to feel complete. So apurnata gives rise to vasanas. Why it is apurnata is there? Because I falsely think of myself as a apurna jiva. I am identified with this deha. So dehatma bhav. I am Mr. So and so. This dehatma bhav leads to apurnata. And when this is not there, in the deep sleep, there is no apurnata, there is no dehatma bhav. Vasanas also are unmanifest. None of these cycles, none of these points in the cycle exist in deep sleep. Why? Because dehatma bhav is not there. Whenever we don't identify with the body, then we don't feel incomplete, then the vasana is not manifesting. But now we can't remain in deep sleep all the time. So the great masters, when they inquired into what makes us feel incomplete, they came to the ultimate cause, ignorance of the self, avidya. This ignorance of the self is the root cause of sorrow. Now if you ask from where ignorance came, it is beginningless. Beginningless ignorance is the cause of this entire cycle. So there are 3 cycles. Each one of us is riding a tricycle actually. You know, in childhood, one starts learning first by riding a tricycle. And then the bicycle comes. And majority don't go beyond that. This monocycle, nobody rides. You can see that in Jumbo circus or any such circus only. Some experts will be able to ride a cycle with just 1 wheel. So majority of us anyway are riding on 3 wheels. Ignorant cycle, avidya, dehatma bhav, apurnata. Then karma cycle, and then cycle of birth and death. Now this is the root cause of suffering. When we come to the teacher helps to remove the root cause, not handle only the effect. Not try to just give some peace of mind. The mind is very disturbed. Vikshepa is there. So people want some technique. Can we chant some mantra? Can we, do some yoga? Can we do some pranayam? Can you initiate us into something? Then we will get peace of mind, which is okay at one level, but a deeper level, when one wants to remove the cause, those things will not help by itself. Those can quieten the mind. With a quiet mind, inquire into the root cause, and root cause is ignorance. Now this ignorance, one has to feel. Bondage one has to feel. If one doesn't feel bondage at all, how will one even have the desire for liberation? Does one feel that, I don't know the self? That ignorance of the self is the cause of my sorrow. And if we can't, identify with the ignorance of the self, at least identify with this, the Dehatma Bhav. Whenever one identifies with the body, then one feels miserable. This body, we have given such a exaggerated value to it that everything that is experienced by us is only through this body. Pleasure of the body is my pleasure, happiness of the body is my happiness, pain of the body is my pain. So it is a bundle of 5 elements. It's an instrument. But when I think I am this, then very deeply attached with this. So the Guru's job is to remove the Dehatma Bhav to some extent, to even understand what is avidya. Otherwise it's theoretical, it's the information is there that avidya is the root cause of sorrow. In Navaratri, when we worship Durga Devi 3 days, Lakshmi Devi 3 days, Saraswati Devi 3 days. First 3 days we worship Durga Devi because she destroys Mahishasura. Mahisha means a buffalo. This buffalo is supposed to be very thick skinned, so it doesn't even recognize that somebody is beating it for quite some time. So the prayer to Mother Durga is that, oh Mother Durga, this ignorance is continuously troubling us, is the root cause of our sorrow. We are not even aware of that ignorance. So please help us to at least awaken to the fact that we are bound, not because of some attachment to some person or some agitation in the mind or some result that did not come. Those are very simpler causes of sorrow. Root cause of sorrow is this: I don't know who am I, and I falsely think I am the BMI. That is the root cause of sorrow. One who has removed that is the Guru, Sadguru or Param Guru. So Ajnana Timirandhasya. So this cycle we must be very, very clear about. That these 3 cycles we are stuck in. Not knowing who am I in my true nature, that is avidya, ignorance of the self. Then thinking of myself as the body is moha, dehatma bhav. Body is my tool, I am not the body. That is the bhav that one should have. This one has to keep telling. Ramana Maharshi, he simplified this in 4 simple words. Entire Vedanta is simplified in 4 words. He is a master of simplification. So what are 4 words? He said, ask first, koham. The moment you ask, who am I? The answer will come, I am so and so. I am tall, I am young, I am this, I am that. So answer will be deham. I am happy, I am sad. It will be related to the body, physical, emotional or intellectual body, or even causal body. So he says you reject all that. Naham. Koham, deham, naham. I am not this, I am not this, I am not this. Then who am I? Soham. I am the pure consciousness. That is called knowledge. Jnana Anjana Shalakaya. And so here it is that what was blocking this vision of mind, or that root cause, is the ignorance. See, when something blocks the eye, then the vision is not clear. So when there is cataract, then we can't see very clearly. Or if you have a number, then also sometimes it becomes blurred, can't see very clearly. So this cataract is the symbol of that vision is not clear. So whenever vision is blocked with this Dehatma Bhav, we are not seeing the self, but this ignorance is making us feel I am this body. Now my vision of the whole world is divided, very blurred. I can't see consciousness. I think all these are different things. Psychologically, spiritually, we divide. So one aspect is that when there is this Dehatma Bhav, then there is unclear vision. Not only unclear, it is actually opposite. See, at least in our example here, the eyes don't see something opposite. They may see something blurred, but they're not seeing opposite. In vision, actually, in Vedanta, we are seeing opposite. What is finite is being seen, as infinite. What is perishable is being seen as imperishable. What is right is being seen as wrong. What is wrong is being seen as right. So it is completely warped. And also darkness. When he says Ajnana Timira Andha. So darkness, when I don't know, there is ignorance, there is darkness, there is a lot of dependency. So ignorance brings dependency, and dependency is sorrow. Any form of dependency will be sorrow only. Psychological dependency will bring only sorrow, nothing but sorrow. What happens to us in the world is we mix up love and attachment. So we think that love and attachment, I must have attachment, then only I will be happy. How can I not be attached to my children and my family and my people? That is the cause of my sorrow and their sorrow. Love is not equal to attachment. Love is very different. In love, the beloved is important. In attachment, I am important. So this blindness brings dependency. And for a spiritual seeker, one must be very clear that dependency should be avoided, or one should get out of dependency. Ajnana Timira Andhasya. Literally, like, one is groping in the dark. One doesn't know what is there. Just think about it. How many people we live in the world? No idea why are we born? Why are we here? What is the purpose of life? What are we supposed to do? Even though it may be sometimes we may feel that we know, but many times we don't know. We are just struggling in the dark as though. Why do so many people, give up in life, commit suicides in life? Sometimes it's because one doesn't know what is the objective of this life. One sees sorrow, suffering, one sees struggle, one sees many things which are disappointing. One gives up the life because the clarity is not there. One is blinded. So one falls. So here it is, Ajnana Timira Andhasya. When I don't know what is the objective, even right now I'm talking at a simpler level, not the ignorance level, at the simpler level of what is the objective of a relationship? What is the objective of my life? Why should I do work? Even those simple facts, we don't know many of these, the simple questions, we don't know the real answers for those or the deeper purpose of those. One may feel that, I'm doing this for this because I want this, but that is not possibly a real reason. I'm a human, I need relationships. Okay, that's a one level of understanding. What is a deeper level? It is to know myself, correct myself. It is to give, to forgive. It is to share. It is to become egoless. How many people will know all this? Shastra says, but how many people will know? When we don't study, then we don't know. Then we get dependent on people, relationships, and then we feel relationships are a source of pain. But J. Krishnamurti said a very nice thing. He said, relationships are schools for enlightenment because they help to become egoless. Running away from relationships, where will one go? One can't realize the truth. So the idea here is that even simple things like that, we become so dependent on people, become dependent on things that without this I can't be happy. So dependency will bring sorrow on objects, people, situations. When we become dependent, We become dependent because incompleteness. Why incompleteness? Because I don't know who am I. In deep sleep, no dependency. In true state of love, no dependency. In samadhi, no dependency. So when I feel incompleteness because of ignorance of the self, Dehatma Bhav is there, then one becomes dependent. And hence one should know that dependency is sorrow. For a spiritual seeker, that should become very, very clear that dependency is completely sorrow. And whatever may be the root cause for it, first and foremost, the equation in the mind must go that dependency is necessary in life. That equation should go. You know, one youngster, he was going to join Brahmachari course. He was a member of Chinmay Yuva Kendra. And Gurudev was coming down from the staircase to get into the car. There was one staircase which was quite, steep. So this youngster gave his hand so that Gurudev can hold and step down. Gurudev is quite old at this time. He's almost, I think 74 or 75, even little more than that, yeah. So Gurudev extended his hand, but immediately he withdrew. And then he stepped down on his own. And he sat in the car. And just before he shuts the door, he looked at that youngster and he told him, never depend, walk alone. You know, it was not a question of ego. Many times one has seen Gurudev giving the hand, but it is how the master teaches. Every breath a teaching, when we say, a master teaches like that. Never depend. We should find out what are those things on which we are dependent and strive to get out of those dependencies. Then the true knowledge will arise. Guru is independent. The Shishya becomes dependent. He is already dependent. Why becomes? So the Shishya has to come out of it slowly, slowly. Properly one has to put efforts to get out of dependencies. So Ajnana Timira Andha. So in darkness, there is dependency. When I can't see, there is dependency. And it will bring sorrow. So this ignorance, what we spoke about, is of these two types. One is called Moola Avidya, which is ignorance of the self. Other is called Tula Avidya, which is ignorance of objective things. I don't know about maths or chemistry or biology or something happening in some part of the world. Those are objective things I don't know about. How strange it is that we today take pride in knowing maximum objective things, but ignore completely the subjective knowledge of the self. At one point in time, our country was giving both these knowledges. Knowledge of the self, knowledge of the objective world, and they had mastered quite a lot in the objective world also and discovered so many wonderful things. People from all over the world used to come to our country for knowledge. Not only in spirituality, in every other field, in management, science, literature, art, dance, music, architecture, in everything. And the strange thing today is that we have to depend on so many of these foreign travelers, Huan Sang and Megasthenes and all of them, whose accounts we are reading to understand what was India. How strange is that? Our scriptures, etc., many people have destroyed, and what is remaining, people are not yet, some people are putting that effort, many are not. But what was this country? What was the education in this country? What kind of knowledge was shared by people? That everybody from across the world used to come here to gain knowledge. Crossing such terrible obstacles, mountains and forests and rivers and whatnot, they used to cross and come to this land to gain this knowledge. Why? Because this was complete holistic knowledge. Mool avidya, tool avidya, both gone. So ajnana timirandhasya jnananjana shalakaya. So this ignorance of the self, what does it do? Just like the cataract, I said, veils, it covers the vision. In the same way, this ignorance of the self, it veils the distinction of the seer and the seen. That I am the seer, the pure consciousness, body, mind, intellect, the world of objects, it is all seen. This distinction one doesn't know. In fact, one thinks the opposite. One thinks that there is no seer, and this which is seen, that only becomes this I, and then the world becomes the seen. So I means the body and the seer. Through the eyes I am seeing, and the world is the seen. That's it. Who is the real seer? That one doesn't know. Which science today calls as the ultimate observer. The Sakshi, what we call the Sakshi, the ultimate observer, is the one who is observing this Jiva also doing actions, the individuality performing actions. One who helps me to become aware who is that Sakshi, what is the nature of that Sakshi, not verbally only, through proper steps, who helps to remove ignorance. That teacher, Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya. And also distinction between the reality and the world. What is the substratum of the world is consciousness, what we saw in the first verse. And the names and forms, they are just empty. Like the gold bangle, there is, if you say what is the weight of the bangle has no weight. Weight is of gold only. Bangle is only a name and only a shape. So in that way, this whole world is names and forms. The reality, substratum, is something else. Now that distinction one has not known. One thinks the names and form is real, substratum does not exist. One who removes this ignorance, that person is called the Guru. Ajnana Timirandhasya. And how does that person remove? Through intuitive knowledge. Jnana Anjana Shalakaya. The eyes represent our vision. So whenever we put the kajal, it is not to beautify the eyes only. And in earlier days, men, women all used to put. Now we have limited it only to women, and men don't put, and even men, even women think it is to beautify the eyes. That is only one part of it. It is actually to signify that do I have this vision of the self or not? Am I looking at the world through that or not? The very beautiful shloka which says, Drishtim Jnanamayim Kritva Pashyet Brahmamayam Jagat. Make the vision, have the vision of knowledge and see this whole universe as one. Is Brahman only. So this Mahabharat, we find that Divya Chakshu is given by Bhagwan Vedavyasa. You see this Bhagya of Dhritarashtra, terrific, his Bhagya is. He has been born blind. He has never seen his children. He allowed him, he became attached to his children, did not do his duty as a king. Now the war is imminent and now they are on the battlefield. Bhagwan Vedavyasa comes there and tells him that I will give you divine vision, that sitting here you can see what is happening in the battlefield and you can also know what is happening in the minds of those warriors. And Dhritarashtra says, no, I don't want. Think about it. That is called karma. When one is not deserving, even if that vision has to come, then somebody is ready to give that vision, this person won't be able to take it. What did he miss out? He missed out the whole Gita, he missed out Vishwarupa Bhagwan. And Sanjay got it. Why Dhritarashtra said, Sanjay is my charioteer, you tell him. Now Sanjay got Divya Chakshu. And Sanjay is sitting on the battlefield and seeing everything. And is informing to Dhritarashtra. First instance in the world of live commentary. Sanjay was doing to Dhritarashtra. Divya Chakshu. Second time it happens is when Krishna Bhagavan gives him the divine vision to see the Vishwarup Darshan. Dadami, he says, I bless you with that divine vision. Now, this divine vision is not some, physical vision only. Physical power of the eyes is one aspect. But like how we have, so if we say 3D vision. So when you put 3D glasses, then you see things in 3D. In some of these places, if you go, like in Amritsar, there is a Govindgarh Fort. In that Govindgarh Fort, there is one show which is 7D. So you sit on the chair and then there will be all types of sensations you can feel. Water will splash on you. Then suddenly when horses are riding, your chair will be rocking. Some creepers, when they are there, then something as though is creepy on your feet. Like that, they have different types of sensation that one feels. Of course, all that is at the body level. But what I mean to say is that how when every sense is involved, then the vision becomes more and more holistic. In that way, there are psychic visions. Then there is mental vision, when the mind becomes pure. Then comes the intuitive vision, which is the spiritual vision, where intuitively one realizes that yes, there is only one pure consciousness. A pure mind and a subtle intellect come together and they will realize that. So that is what he is saying here, is the vision of knowledge, is the subtlest type of vision. To see everything as it is, this eye of intuition is what is opened by the Guru. That is called the Jnana Chakshu. The third eye, what Shivji has, the third eye, which is there in all of us, the eye of intuition. One Guru asked the disciples, when is it dawn? So one disciple said, when birds are chirping and then the sun rises and you can see everything very clearly, distinctly, that is dawn. Then the other disciple said, no. When you are able to see in every man that you see a brother, and in every woman you see a sister, and every living being you see, you feel love and sensitivity towards them. So the Guru smiled. But he didn't say anything. He was still waiting for an answer. So the third disciple then finally said, when you see everything as your own true self, then it is dawn. That whole universe is seen as it is, that is appearance of one supreme consciousness, then that is the dawn. Dawn of what? Dawn of knowledge. When sun rises, the ignorance goes away. You see, the contrast is like this. In the physical world, when the sun rises, the darkness goes away and you can see things very distinctly. But in Vedanta, when the sun of knowledge rises, all duality gets destroyed. One sees only oneness, that all this is appearance of one absolute truth. So, Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuhu Unmilitam Yena, one who has opened my eyes to that pure consciousness. And this the disciple has to do by oneself. No Guru will touch and say that, okay, now I bless you. This above vision of Vyasa and Bhagavan Krishna was contextual. Because at Mahabharat war, Vyasa has to give this vision to Sanjay, and to see Vishwarup, Bhagavan gave the vision to Arjun. But when? 11th chapter. Before that, what did Bhagavan say? When Arjun got deluded, did Bhagavan say, okay, I will touch you, I will give you vision, you will be fine? No. When Arjun said, what you are saying is wonderful, but I can't control my mind. It is very terrible. It is worse than controlling a storm also. So what to do then? It's very fickle, it is restless, it is impulsive, it is attached, it is unyielding. Bhagavan didn't say, come here, I will touch you. Nothing. Bhagwan said what? Abhyasena to kaunteya vairagyana cha grahyati. You do abhyas, you cultivate vairagya, your mind will come in control. So don't wait, some guru will come and then, when that guru will take one stick and apply that ointment on my eye, then my vision will open, or the guru will touch me, nothing will happen. One person went like that to Gurudev. He said, Gurudev, please give me realization. Gurudev said, spiritual knowledge cannot be given, you have to take it. Another place, one question answer session, they asked Gurudev that Swamiji, we have heard about Shaktipat, that the guru will touch and the disciple will get awakened. And the scriptures also say, Chakshu Diksha, like Sparsha Diksha, Chakshu Diksha, Vichar Diksha. So the examples also are given. Like how the hen sits on the eggs to warm the eggs and then the eggs will hatch. In the same way, Guru will touch, then the disciple becomes realized. Or the fish will keep on seeing its eggs and eggs become warm. And they, the fish, the whatever you call those tiny things, they are born, the fish. And then tortoise comes on the shores, lays the eggs on the shores, goes back to the ocean. From there, through thought, goes on thinking about the eggs and warms the eggs through thought. Kachapa Diksha. Kukkuta is the hen. Matsya is the fish. And Kachapa is the tortoise. So they said, what about this? So Gurudev said, for that a guru must be competent and disciple must be qualified. And even in that case, if that happens also, it is a glimpse that the guru can give. But finally the Shishya only has to put the effort and realize. So one should not wait. Gurudev always used to say, I am not a mule guru, meaning I will not carry you on my back. You have to work hard. Is Jnana Abhyas, is a Jnana Sadhana one has to do. Shravan, Manan, Nididhyasa. Tapon Maharaj also didn't touch Gurudev and he became realized. No. So each one has to put their efforts, put their karma and awaken. So Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnanan Jana Shalakaya. One who has given the vision of knowledge, what more can be done? What is a greater miracle than that? The knowledge of the self, the highest knowledge of the self and the root cause of sorrow, both these are told to the disciple by the guru. Just imagine. Right now, this whole world is struggling with what? Coronavirus. How much of struggle is happening to find out what is the cure for this virus? Functioning of that virus also we took time to understand, and some new symptoms also have got added now. Loss of smell and loss of taste and all that. It takes time to study the effect and then come to the cause and then try to eliminate the cause. So whatever, find medicine or vaccine or whatever it is for it. Even then the cause is not eliminated, that from where it came from, some animal it has jumped and come into human, and that cause though nobody is handling. People continue to eat all types of animals. So then what is going to happen? It is going to jump. More and more new things will keep happening. So in the world also, to find the root cause, to eliminate the cause, and to handle the effect, to give relief. Both these happening in the world, but imagine in spiritual life, it is so subtle. To find out root cause of sorrow is ignorance. To become purified in the mind, to gain the knowledge to remove the root cause is very, very deep. It's not easy. To find a guru who can do both these is such a great blessing. When Gurudev spoke about Vedanta to so many of us, and all of us, so many millions are being benefited. Even today, with the knowledge that Gurudev has given, Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya. Chakshuhu Unmilitam Yena, one who opened our eyes to this vision that what is the cause of my sorrow, root cause is ignorance, and what is the solution is knowledge of the self. Both this the Guru has given. That Guru, salutations to such a great master. Now here, when we speak about this eye of intuition, the sadhana that one has to do to awaken that eye of intuition is the Jnana sadhana. Karma Yoga sadhana, Upasana, and then Jnana sadhana. Through Karma Yoga, one purifies the mind, make it more and more selfless. Through Upasana, make the mind single-pointed, and then listen to, go to the Guru, listen to the self-knowledge, reflect on it, contemplate on it. That is the Jnana sadhana. Then through Samadhi, one comes to destroy this ignorance. Dehatma Bhav goes, ignorance gets destroyed, the self one realizes. In this whole process, right from the beginning to the end, it is the grace of the Guru only which works. Now we will see one video of Gurudev where he speaks from the 15th chapter, the very nice line in 15th chapter which says that this fact that there is consciousness pervading everything, and that consciousness alone is there when one is taking a new body, when one is enjoying in this body, and even when the body is dropped and one goes forward. Consciousness doesn't change. It is the ultimate observer in us, the experiencer in us. So, one line comes in the Gita, Vimudha na anupashyanti pashyanti jnana chakshushaha. A very beautiful commentary on that one line Gurudev has given. We will see that.
Now the teacher says, Utkramantam, while leaving the body, Stitam vapi, or remaining in the body as you are now. You are not left. You are not yet left. You are now in the body. Bhunjanam va, whenever you are experiencing any experience, joy or sorrow, while living through the experience of life, while remaining the body, or leaving the body, or going through the various experiences of the body. Gunanvitam. There are certain moments in life in every one of us where one guna, one emotion overwhelms all other emotions. And you really don't know what you are doing. Anger, jealousy, greed, passion, lust. When it overwhelms you, you like to say that, I am sorry, I got so angry, I don't remember what I did, isn't it? Even at that time, when you yourself is not there, because of the overwhelming effect of one emotion or the other, Gunanvitam, you are crazy, mad, even then. Vimudha, mudha, fools. Vimudha visheshena mudha, not ordinary fools. Those who have a PhD in foolishness, supremely stupid ones. Na anupashyanti, they are not able to recognize. What? My presence. When is it that I am not with you? When you are born, were you not alive? Did you not, the moment you came out, you declared to the whole world and the neighborhood at least that I have arrived? You did not silently come. Had you made that mistake of being born and not crying, you would have by now fertilized the country, manured the country. They would have put a piece of cloth on you and immediately buried without a box, because a little child need not have a box. Full stop. You are dead. The moment you arrive, you cry, expressing there is life in it. All through your life. When you are coming into the body, when you are staying in the body, Bhunjanamba, when you are experiencing your joys and sorrows, bumping from one experience to another all through the day, all through the days of your existence. Gunanvidam, even those moments when you are unconscious because of the overwhelming one emotion or the other, you become crazy mad. All the time, I am continuously with you. And that vimudha, specially gracious people of total ignorance and stupidity, ask the question, where is God? Show me God. When is it I am not with you? Where I am not, you don't exist. Your very existence is me. To deny God is to deny yourself. If a fool says, I have no grandfather because I have not seen him, he doesn't understand that he is denying himself. I need not reply him. I thought that you are standing there, so you are not there. Why? If your grandfather is not there, then the father is not there. Without a father, you cannot be. So what I am saying is only just an illusion. You don't exist, so why should I worry about it? So I need not give you a cup of tea, I need not give you a chair, I need not talk to you, because you don't exist. The moment you deny your grandfather or great-grandfather saying that I have not seen, you don't know the consequence. You don't exist. Because you can't exist without your father. The father cannot be in the world without a grandfather. Grandfather cannot be without the great-grandfather. So the nth grandfather must also be a possibility, whether you have seen him or not. 93rd grandfather also must be there. Or else, this is not possible. God is not. Where is God? What else is there other than him? No, Swamiji, I must take my responsibility. Who took the responsibility when you were in the womb? That is nature took care of it. Then will not that nature continue? Call him nature if you like. Call him God, call him the reality, call him the supreme intelligence, call him by whatever name you like. That is your language, it doesn't matter. That essence which you looked after, will you not look after? Okay? Bhunjanam va gunanvitam. Vimudha, you must be a colossal stupid entity, almost just evolved from the stone life. You are almost a stone. Not to recognize my presence all the time. Vimodhanani pasyanti, pasyanti jnana chakshusha. Definitely they recognize me and come to experience my glory. Those who have jnana chakshu, those who have the discriminative intelligence to contemplate and realize. There is no argument that to say that all these are bluffs. It is so logical, so rational, step by step. If you don't think, then what can you do? A piece of furniture, if you explain all these things, the furniture will be furniture. It will not understand. Similarly, even after explaining all these things, if a teenager says that no, the whole thing is a bluff, he is not developed his intellect. He is still, the intellect is in the stage of horns. When the horns liquidate and become soft and pulpy, grey matter, white matter, then only it becomes human. To many of us it is slowly digesting, but it is still hard. So hard-headed strong-headed, stony-headed, meaning still horns are horns, not yet dissolved into grey matter and white matter for discriminative purpose.
That was a hard hit. We gave such powerful examples to say that Vimudha means who, all of us only. When we don't see that except God, nothing else is. Guru is one who awakens that. And what examples he gave, horn. The horn has to melt. Furniture. One explains to furniture doesn't understand. So anyway, the idea here is that we are like that Vimudha, and this Guru is one who is trying to open our Jnana Chakshu. So what we have to know here also is this, that what Upanishads say and what the Bhakti Shastra also says, that without the presence of the Guru, one will not realize the absolute self. There are some examples for it. This is the shloka I spoke to you about. Drishtim Jnanamayim Kritva Pashyet Brahmamayam Jagat. Make the vision full of self-knowledge. The vision must be rooted in self-knowledge. Then see the world as Brahman. So example for that is what? One famous example is Tulsidas Ji's example of, he wanted to have darshan of Bhagwan Ram. So he asked Hanumanji. So how he found out, that Hanumanji comes always to Ram Katha. Wherever Ram Katha is happening, Hanumanji will be there. So one day he found out that one old man comes to my Katha first and he leaves last. That person is Hanumanji. So as soon as the Katha got over, he ran and he caught his feet and he said, I know you are Hanumanji, you please help me to have darshan of Bhagwan Ram. So Tulsidas Ji said, Hanumanji said, okay, tomorrow morning you will have. Next morning he goes, Tulsidas Ji is doing his Sandhya Vandan and he is on the river bank, etc. And there are two young princes who go on the horse. And Tulsidas Ji is doing his Sandhya and he is seeing them, but he doesn't recognize. So when Hanumanji says, did you meet? He said, no, but who came? He said, Arey, those two princes who went, they are that Lord only. So Tulsidas says, oh, so sorry, I couldn't recognize them at all. One more time it happened like that. So Hanumanji has already asked twice to Bhagwan. Now the third time he asks. So Bhagwan says, okay. Now Bhagwan doesn't come in the same form every time again, in the horse and all that. So this time Tulsidas Ji is, he is making chandan and is applying tilak on the foreheads of the seekers who are coming. Bhagwan stands in that line. Now Hanumanji says, now this Tulsidas cannot miss this time. So he becomes a parrot and he goes on to that tree and he sits there. And as Bhagwan comes in the front, Tulsidas is still not recognizing. And so Hanumanji says, Chitrakoot ke ghat par bhai santan ki bheer, Tulsidas chandan ghise tilak kare Raghuveer. The moment Tulsidas Ji heard that ki Tulsidas chandan ghise tilak kare Raghuveer, then he realized, oh, this is the Lord. And he falls at the feet of the Lord. Now imagine Tulsidas Ji is a person who is such a big Ram Bhakta and he could not have darshan of the Lord without the grace of Hanumanji. Hanumanji is the Guru Roop there. The story is for that example to understand that what is completely obvious and evident will not be known until that Guru initiates. And that's why the need of the Guru, and that's why Gurudev said to that person, a competent Guru and a qualified disciple are required. Tulsidas is a qualified disciple. And Hanumanji is a competent Guru. And when they both come together, then the darshan of the Lord, the disciple has. So for today, we will stop here. and continue next week with the third verse. Any questions? You are welcome to raise your hand and ask. Pratima ji, you have a question? You have to unmute and ask. No question. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Guru Namaha. Harihi Om.